One morning, Henry was feeling very sorry for himself. Sometimes he could pull trains, but sometimes he felt he had no strength at all. I suffer dreadfully and no one cares. Rubbish, Henry, snorted James. You don't work hard enough. Sir Topham Hatt spoke to him too. What's wrong with you, Henry? You have had lots of new parts and new paint, too, but they've done you no good. If we can't make you better, we must get another engine instead of you to do the work. This made Henry, his driver, and fireman very sad. Sir Topham Hatt was waiting when Henry came to the platform. He had taken off his hat and coat and put on overalls. Henry managed to start, but his fireman was not satisfied. Henry is a bad steamer, he said to Sir Topham Hatt. I build up his fire, but it doesn't give enough heat. Henry tried very hard, but it was no good. He didn't have enough steam and came to a stop outside Edward's station. Oh dear, thought Henry. I shall have to go away. Oh dear, oh dear. All he could do was to go slowly onto a siding, and Edward took charge of the train. Sir Topham Hatt and the fireman went on discussing Henry's troubles. What do you think is wrong, fireman? Asked Sir Topham Hatt. Excuse me, sir, he answered, but the fact is the coal is wrong. We've had a poor lot lately, and today it's worse. The other engines can manage. They have big fireboxes. Henry's is small and can't make the heat. With Welsh coal, he'd be a different engine. It's expensive, said Sir Topham Hatt, but Henry must have a fair chance. James shall go and fetch some. When the Welsh coal came, Henry's driver and fireman were excited. Now we'll show them, Henry, old fellow. They carefully made his fire, putting large lumps of coal like a wall round the outside. Then the glowing middle part was covered with smaller lumps. You're spoiling my fire, complained Henry. Wait and see, said the fireman. We'll have a roaring fire just when we want it. The fireman was right. When Henry reached the platform, the water was boiling nicely, and he had to let off steam. How are you, Henry? Beep, beep, beep. I feel fine. Have you a good fire, driver? Never better, sir, and plenty of steam. No record breaking, warned Sir Topham Hatt. Don't push him too hard. Henry won't need pushing, sir. I'll have to hold him back. Henry had a lovely day. He had never felt so well in his life. He wanted to go fast, but his driver wouldn't let him. Steady, old fellow, he would say. There's plenty of time. They arrived early at the station. Thomas puffed in. "Where have you been, lazy bones?" asked Henry. "Oh, I can't wait for dawdling tank engines like you. Goodbye." "Whoosh!" said Thomas to the coaches. Have you ever seen anything like it? Both Annie and Clarabelle agreed that they never had. One morning, Gordon was in the yard taking on a large supply of coal. "That's the third load of coal you've had today, Gordon," said James. "Some might say you're being rather greedy." "I'm an important engine," replied Gordon. "Important engines need plenty of coal, but I doubt if you would understand that, James." James snorted and went about his work. Later, Gordon was taking on water from a standpipe because the water tower was under repair. "I wouldn't drink too much of that water if I were you, Gordon. It might give you boiler ache." "Pah!" said Gordon. "What's this, educating Gordon Day? First James, now you, Duck. Big engines have big needs. Little engines are just annoying." "Don't say I didn't warn you," laughed Duck. Later, Gordon steamed into the yard at the big station. "That's what I need," exclaimed Gordon. There, emerging out of the sheds, were two shiny tenders. "Now, if I had two tenders," said Gordon, "I wouldn't need to stop so often, and I wouldn't have to listen to silly little engines." "Those tenders belong to a visitor," replied his driver. Diesel sidled up alongside. "Everyone knows that tenders are a mark of distinction, but I'm afraid that no amount of tenders will save you in the end. We Diesels are taking over, and we don't need tenders to make us important, not even one." Gordon was most upset. He was feeling just the same next day. "I'm not happy." "I know," said Duck. "It's boiler ache." "It's not boiler ache," protested Gordon. "It's—" "Of course it is," interrupted Henry. "That water's bad. Have a good washout. Then you'll feel a different engine. Your boiler must be full of sludge." "Don't be vulgar," huffed Gordon. He backed down onto his train, hissing mournfully. "Cheer up, Gordon," said Sir Topham Hatt. "I can't, sir. Is it true what Diesel says, sir?" "What does he say?" "That Diesels are taking over." "Don't worry, Gordon. That will never happen on my railway." "One more thing, sir. Why did the visitor have two tenders?" "Because he lives on a railway with long distances between coaling depots." Gordon felt better. But Henry started complaining. He banged some cars angrily. "I always work hard enough for two," he puffed. "I deserve another tender." Duck whispered something to Donald. He was going to play a trick on Henry. "Henry," he asked, "would you like my tenders?" "Yours? What have you got to do with tenders?" "All right," said Duck. "The deal's off. Would you like them, Donald?" "I wouldn't deprive you of the honor," replied Donald. "It is a great honor," continued Duck thoughtfully, "but I'm only a tank engine. Perhaps James might—" "I'm sorry I was rude," said Henry hastily. "How many tenders have you, and when could I have them?" I have 6, and you can have them this evening." "6 lovely tenders," chortled Henry. "What a splendid sight I'll be." Henry was excited all day. "Do you think it will be all right?" he asked for the umpteenth time. "Of course," said Duck. "They're all ready now." The other engines waited where they could each get a good view. But Henry wasn't a splendid sight at all. His 6 tenders were very old, dirty, and filled with boiler sludge. "Had a good washout, Henry," called a voice. "That's right. You'll feel a different engine now." Henry was not sure, but he thought the voice belonged to Gordon.
fresh from the sea. We might be in the quarry or pulling the express. Whatever work we're doing, we always do our best. Sojo's always busy with jobs that must be done. Being really useful is not just work, it's fun. Hard work can be dirty with coal and dust and grime, but if we choose to work or play, we choose to work each time. It takes a team of engines to clear snow from the track, but when you're building buildings, you'll need Jack and his pack. They're digging, tipping, loading, whatever duty calls, filling holes with concrete or knocking over walls. Sojo's always busy with jobs that must be done. Being really useful, it's not just work, it's fun. Hard work can be dirty with coal and dust and grime, but if we choose to work or play, we choose to work each time. What's the next job waiting? Only time will tell. If a job's worth doing, we like to do it well. Sojo's always busy with jobs that must be done. Being really useful is not just work, it's fun. Hard work can be dirty with coal and dust and grime, but if we choose to work